ARK Survival Evolved is an incredibly popular game. It frequently makes its way into the top 10 most played games on Steam, which goes to show just how successful the game is financially. However, if you look at the game's Steam reviews, you wouldn't believe this to be the case. Currently, the game sits at a mixed rating, which suggests that there's something more going on behind the scenes. In fact, this isn't the first time that the game's review score has dipped. So why is this happening? ARK Survival Evolved released in early access in June 2015. Studio Wildcard's game managed to sell 1 million copies in a month, giving it a strong start. From there, the developers provided frequent updates, and fans considered it one of the better examples of early access. Sales had reached the millions by the time things started to slow down. First, the developers created a standalone version of the PvP game mode Survival of the Fittest. Then they began developing console versions, all before the game had been completed. Fans were still enjoying the game, but were becoming impatient at the lack of updates during this time. This crescendo peaked in September 2016 when the game's first expansion released. It's worth noting that the game at this point was still in early access, and therefore wasn't yet complete. Despite the game being incomplete, the developers released a $20 expansion called Scorched Earth. The Steam reviews for this expansion are generally positive, which suggests that the DLC itself is good value, but the reviews for the base game tanked when Scorched Earth released. At the time, fans argued that the developers should have focused on completing the base game they had already paid for, instead of developing paid-for expansions in that time. As such, the first review bomb occurred. A wave of negative reviews appeared on its Steam page, and positive reviews were wiped and changed to negative ones by angry fans. This is a tactic used to bring down a game's rating on its Steam store page and ward off people who would otherwise buy the game. It also drew attention to the situation. Despite the review bomb, the developers stood by their decision. This negativity around the game heightened when the Steam Awards came around. The ARK developers made a community post asking people to vote ARK in the best use of a farm animal category, and if the game won, they would release a new animal in the next update. A number of fans saw this as a bribe. Holding back a feature of the game for a non-financial reason was not regarded very highly. Considering this wasn't long after the Scorched Earth scenario, it only encouraged players to keep their negative reviews up. The backlash prompted the developers to remove the blog post and release a new animal regardless of the Steam Awards result. Goat Simulator won the Steam Award. Finally, the most recent and perhaps most relevant detail, ARK then doubled in price from $30 to $60. On the official ARK Twitter, the developer stated, "ARK Survival Evolved has increased its price on Steam to ensure retail parity for its upcoming launch." The price hike was perhaps the most contentious of recent matters, resulting in another review bomb of the game, bringing its overall review score down to mixed. The major complaint fans had was over the lack of warning given by the developers. When the game released in early access, the developer stated, "The game will be lower priced through early access relative to its final full version retail price," which does suggest that the game would see a price increase. The developers later explained, the retailers wouldn't accept the digital version being cheaper than the retail version. What would have been ideal would have been raising the price at the exact point of transition from early access to retail, but for the pre-orders it was necessary. Though this is a fair argument, the criticism being targeted at Studio Wildcard is that they could have easily warned consumers ahead of time that the price increase would be sooner than initially suggested, and no such thing occurred. ARK Survival Evolved has had a rocky relationship with its fans. What was initially an early access darling has become the source of 3 scandals that have created a schism between the game's fans and its developers, Studio Wildcard. Strange management decisions and a lack of communication are highlighted as the main issues plaguing the game, and as responsible for its repeated drops in Steam review score. The best indicator of this is probably the overall review score, which over the years has dropped from positive to a not so appealing mixed status. With the official release just around the corner, the question is, will Studio Wildcard be able to patch the ARK's leaks, or is it soon to sink? I apologise for the terrible gameplay. I'm not very good at the game, and hopefully my lack of skill wasn't too distracting. Regardless, I'd love to hear what you think of these 3 matters, especially the price increase. Do you think a developer should be allowed to increase the price of their game? Do you think warning is necessary, or do you think the developers have done nothing wrong? This is quite a contentious matter, so do try and keep it civil in the comments. Thanks for watching.